The Searchers on 4K. This is easily one of the best 4Ks I have ever seen. And I've seen a whole bunch. And just from the opening shot where my jaw literally dropped as I was watching it on my OLED screen. From the big scenery to the close-ups, long shots, the whole thing looks incredible. This negative either was in incredible shape or they did the best restoration job ever. And I thought the sound restoration was perfect as well. It was perfectly clear. I listened to it on a 3.1 actual like speaker system with a receiver, and also on this HT-ST 5000, and it sounds amazing on both. Here's some of my scenery this morning. So beyond saying that this is one of the top 5 4Ks I've ever seen, don't really need to say too much more in that category, other than that the film grade is intact. Some people have said that it's not intact. You can see it tingling in the background if you look close. But I think it's one of the best. So now I'm just going to go through it. And this was my first time ever watching this movie. So I just want to show you some things that stood out to me as a first-time watcher. Now I'm working on it a second time, showing my 9-year-old. And it's been cool watching the stuff that he's picking up on as well. I think it's interesting.
It's fresh minted.
He gives this money to his brother.
So?
It's got this like mysterious music. This is ominous music when he hands him some money. And at first I was like, what the heck? And it's like, oh, okay. He clearly has some kind of past, like where there might be some law breaking in the past, especially when the preacher / Texas Ranger captain kind of confronts him later. So anyway, I just think the ominous music was a little bit funny, but it's indicating that he has a past. It was so cool to see Monument Valley, which I've been to. But look at the sceneries. It just looks so good. I mean, it was filmed so beautifully, but the 4K just captures it so perfectly. I've seen a good handful of Westerns, and this is a part that I had never really seen in another one, but where...
This is the closest, Stephen. If they're not there, we'll come straight on to you. Come on, Charlie. Ah.
You do that.
Well, are you coming or ain't you?
That farm's 40 miles from here, boy, and these horses need rest and...
So, where normally they just ride and ride and ride, I guess, I don't know, it just seems like plot-wise, usually the horses aren't tired like right when they need to be. So I thought it was interesting that this guy, who is clearly like a rough and tough guy, he's like, no, I have to stop for these horses. And like you would think he would be like, no, I'm just gonna push him. And so I just think it's cool that it shows that he's smart enough to know that they can't make that journey in the time that they need to, so they have to rest. But I really like his face on this next part. Right here, starting to wipe the sweat off the horse. And you know that he knows what's going on. And I think John Wayne's performance in this movie is so good because he has like this stoic exterior, but then there's times where you see like he's really feeling a lot of emotion, and he's the one that said that he knows that this is like a murder party, right? Like they lured these guys out so that they could get one of their homesteads. And I think he knows what's going on, and it's just interesting to see these every once in a while little moments where you see a lot of emotion on his face. So I just think his performance in this movie is so good. Here's the result of him overusing his horse. Here is Star Wars: A New Hope. This is almost exactly shot for shot Star Wars: A New Hope when Luke comes back to the Lars homestead, and it is currently burning. So clearly George Lucas was inspired by this movie, along with tons of other people. There's also a part from Star Wars Episode 2, a lot later in the movie, that George Lucas was definitely inspired by, when Martin is going into the camp to rescue his sister. So it's just cool to see how other movies were inspired by this, but this clearly started it, because it's from 1956. I love how he unsheaths his rifle right here. I think it's so cool. This movie's use of silhouettes is absolutely incredible, and I think on the 4K it just stands out even better. But this awful, sad, tragic part where the camera just kind of stays in that building and he comes up to it. I also think it was interesting how John Wayne even punched the other guy to not let him go in there, and he's like, "Don't you go look in there." And it's kind of like later when they find Lucy, and he's like, and then he's like, "You want me to draw a picture?" And he says, "Don't ever ask me again about that." So it's interesting. So even again, how stoic and hard this guy is. Occasionally, he just totally breaks down, and he has like boundaries where he's like, "You can't go look," or he's like, "Don't ever ask me about Lucy." So this part here at the funeral, where there's only 3 graves, by the way, which means that they didn't see other bodies, which leads to this whole searching thing. But I've never seen another movie where somebody does what he does right here.
Put an amen to it. There's no more time for praying. Amen. Brad, Martin.
I love, they're all singing and everything. He's just like, put an amen to it. There's no more time. I think it's awesome. And he's right. He's like, they really have to get out there after them. But it's just, I've never seen like a funeral / prayer be interrupted like that in a movie before. Some awesome horse riding in this movie. Look at that steep climb. I love that. All right.
Back out anytime you want, Nesby.
At about 26:20 on the Sony X700, it actually froze at about this point. And when I reset it, it played through, and then it did not freeze on the Panasonic UB820. Did I say X700? Yeah, the Sony X700. On the Sony X700, it froze at this time, and then on the Panasonic UB820, it did not freeze at this time. I don't know if that was just a totally random glitch or what, but I don't think it's a disc issue. And then also, like I said, the Sony played through the next time I went through. Just FYI if you're tracking that stuff. All right, just take this next part out of context right here. So in these movies, I like to analyze how people are shooting, like how they're holding their guns. I do some shooting myself, and I was really impressed with John Wayne's shooting on this part, and it clearly shows that he knows how to use this gun, and he knows how to shoot, and he knows how to shoot accurately. So if you watch when he puts the rifle up, you see that he like squishes his cheek down onto the stock, and it just seems like he gets a really good steady position, whereas some of the other actors are just kind of like holding it almost out in front of them when they're shooting, and it just doesn't look as authentic. When he's shooting, it looks super authentic. Check this out. So he kind of rests his head down onto it. Look at that. Look at that. Some good shooting.
It's a job for a whole company of Rangers, or it's a job for 1 or 2 men. Right now, we're too many and not enough.
I think that's such an interesting line. Like, they have this little group of people, and they barely survived this attack across the river. And so I just think it's interesting. He's like, we're too many and not enough. So they're going to slim down to just a couple people. So plot-wise, but also like utility-wise, I think it's interesting how they kind of shed the extra weight of these extra people. So it's actually sad because his mom said to Ethan, "Don't let these boys throw their lives away in vengeance," which is literally what this kid's about to do. He gets up and he just takes the pistol out of the holster. He doesn't even take any extra bullets. He doesn't take his rifle. He doesn't take his horse. But he literally wastes his life in vengeance here after he finds out what happened to Lucy.
Did they? What was she?
What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Spell it out? Don't ever ask me. As long as you live, don't ever ask me more.
Again, that's more John Wayne really showing the emotions, and it's rare in this movie, but so when it does happen, it's even more powerful. But yeah, then this guy just like loses it. Look, he just takes the pistol. He doesn't take extra bullets. Such a waste. And this movie does this where it's something like incredibly tragic happens, and then there's like a traveling scene with just the most mind-blowingly beautiful scenery. I love watching Laurie and Martin's relationship.
Marty?
I love this. She's so forward.
Martin, Pawley!
Aww.
And him probably forgetting all about you.
It's your boy killed.
Don't go blaming yourself for that.
I like this speech.
This country killed my boy. Yes, by God.
He's always complaining about the country,
Lars.
but I love her
Just so
speech
happens we
about
be
Texas
Texicans.
and the future of this country.
Texican is nothing but a human man way out on a limb. This year and next, maybe for 100 more. But I don't think it'll be forever. Someday this country's gonna be a fine, good place to be.
Aw, I hope so.
Maybe it needs our bones in the ground before that time can come. Bedtime.
I love her just like practicality where she's like this like destiny, just like, yeah, maybe one day it'll be nice and we're on a stepping stone on the way there. And it's like this really deep thought, and then since she's still the lady of the house and still runs things, she's just like immediately goes from that into just like bedtime. I love that. About the cutest kiss I've ever seen in any movie right here. Look at his face. So awkward. Look at that smile. That is seriously about the cutest kiss I've ever seen in any movie. And the more I watch this movie, and the more I think about this movie, the more I love it. And I see why it's been on top movie lists for like all time. It's probably going to get bumped off of there because it has cowboys and Indians. But it's so incredible. And one thing that I love is that they like want to get married and they want to be together, but he has to go out after his sister. And so she kind of has to just accept that. And I think that's beautiful. And I think it just adds to how much I love this movie.
What if you'd missed?
Never occurred to me.
Wah, wah.
Come on, let's get out of here.
So they almost get murdered, and then he kills the people that are going to kill them. And just like at the beginning, how it had like this ominous music where he handed over the coinage that's probably stolen. On this part, it had like the silly music, just like the end of Star Trek episodes in the 60s when there would be like the little joke at the end. And so it was a little bit uncharacteristic because I think that's the only part in this entire movie that does that like silly hammy music. It was funny and the scene was funny and the music fit. It's just, I think it's the only part in the whole movie that does that. This letter reading scene, the whole thing is absolute gold. I want to show the whole thing. I can't.
Little Comanche squaw.
Look at her face.
Squaw!
Laurie!
Sorry.
You ought to
Sorry,
be...
you
Wasn't near as old as you. How old does he think I
I think, and I haven't read into this, but it seems like they killed this buffalo on screen. Unless they did something else to make it look like it got shot. Buffalo burgers. This part when they're gonna go into Scar's tent, I absolutely love the like kind of the turnabout, right? Because now at this point, him and Marty have been together for years, and John Wayne keeps saying that'll be the day, which I love every time he says that. But I love when we finally get to hear Marty say it, right
Stay
here,
out of here.
Not likely.
or not likely, I guess. I mean, I guess he didn't say that'll be the day exactly, but it's the same. It's like the same feel, and I like that he's standing up to Uncle Sir Ethan. Well, apparently I remember that wrong because I thought he said that'll be the day, but he says not likely, but it has the same feel. So you get what I mean. I love this fight between
Don't forget you're a lady.
Charlie and Martin.
Fight fair now. Fight fair.
No biting, no gouging. Look at her, she's smiling watching him fight. I love everybody's just watching this fight. So awesome. There's so many different changes of mood in this movie.
Charlie, you all right?
Look at, they gotta shake hands and make friends. That just does not happen nowadays, and it was very common back then. And it's just nice to watch like a good old school masculine movie that also portrays femininity in kind of the original old school kind of ways. And that's part of why I'm showing this movie to my son. We're about halfway through it, and it's like I said at the beginning, it's fun to see how he reacts to what's going on. He tried to cover his eyes a few times, and I pulled the blanket down. My wife said I should have explained that it wasn't going to show anything scary. Instead, I just pulled it down. I'm like, no, you got to watch it. Look at this shot. George Lucas totally lifted this for Star Wars Episode 2, where the people are watching from here and the camp's down there. Like, that is straight out of Attack of the Clones. I mean, Attack of the Clones lifted it from here, but it's just so cool to see where it came from. And it's like George Lucas's movies, like they took from so many cool older movies, and it's fun to see those original movies that kind of gave birth to George Lucas's like cinematic storytelling style. Also, a little bit of tangent here, but on the 6 Star Wars movies, the 2 audio commentaries on each movie are some of the best ever. But it's cool seeing where Star Wars got some scenes in this movie. All right, I have a theory on this part.
Debbie. Oh, Debbie. Don't say anything, Debbie.
So,
Debbie. I'm going to take you away.
He says, I'm going to take you away.
Get you out of here, Debbie.
Yes, Marty. Oh, yes.
Okay, so she wants to be taken away out of here. But the first time they met up with her, she did not want to leave. And she also didn't fully remember who she was. Like, you could see it came back to her, but she didn't want to leave. And now she's had the flip-flop here. And what I've come up with, and I haven't watched the special features or the commentary or whatever, is just that the first time she had thought that all the people searching for her thought she was dead, and she had just kind of left that life behind. And so she had got used to this new life. And so I think when she saw John Wayne and Marty, Ethan and Martin, I think it's almost like she had been thinking about it, and then she probably saw and realized how brutal these people were that she was with. And so I think when they show up this next time, that she was decided that she wanted to leave. That's my opinion. If you think there's any other reason that she flip-flopped, I would love to hear it, but that's my opinion on why she is now okay leaving. I love these truck-mounted horse-riding shooting shots with John Wayne right here. Look at this. Look how fast they're going. I love how steady they're keeping it on him. That is so cool. And I love how this movie keeps the tension going until the very end. Because Martin was thinking Ethan's going to do something bad, right? Because she's turned into a squaw. But look at this. Aww. At first I thought that was weird. It's like, you're lifting up a grown-up. But that shot exactly mirrors the beginning of the movie when he comes home from the Civil War and he lifts up Debbie like that. And he lifts her up again like she's a little kid. And then he tells her,
Let's go home, Debbie.
Oh my goodness, it gets me in the feels. But I just love that, how this movie, it like mirrors itself, right? Like it's like George Lucas says in his movies that like poetry, it repeats, right? So you can argue the execution that George Lucas has, but the idea, like the structure of his movies, the like poetry, they repeat. Just like this movie. The beginning has the opening silhouette of them coming out of the house, has him lifting her up. Now you have him lifting her up again, and then here we're going to have the amazing ending silhouette that mirrors the beginning. Such a beautiful ending. The camera goes into the house, it just creates that dark, dark silhouette. They're totally silhouetted. Everybody goes in, except Ethan. And I also think it's interesting that as they walk in, like they don't even look at him. Like Martin just walked right by him and didn't look at him. And I like that because it's just Martin is now starting a new stage of his life with Laurie. And he just walks right by Ethan. Not that he doesn't respect him or anything, but it's just that he's focused now. And Ethan, he doesn't go in. Right? He holds his injured arm, the door closes. I think that's a beautiful ending from a beautiful beginning. And I think there's a lot of people that talk about what he's going to go do. And, I always lean the most positive, right? Because there's like a man with a cause. He's got to go find a cause. He doesn't belong in this like civilized, happy house. No, but yes, I think he does. I think he's going to find some nice prairie lady and they're going to get married and have tons of kids. But I think it's a beautiful ending where he doesn't go in and the door closes. So anyway, the searchers, wow, What a good movie. This movie is growing on me, and I just have been thinking about it and thinking about it since I saw it, and I just want to watch it again and again. And I've noticed new stuff each time I've gone through it. Well, thanks for watching my review. Let me know what you think of The Searchers. You have probably seen this many years ago and watched it many times, but this was my first time as a grown-up, and my goodness, what a beautiful movie and what a beautiful 4K. Easily one of the absolute best 4Ks that is out there. Also happens to be Warner Archive's first 4K. So anyway, let me know what you think of this movie and what you think of the review. Thanks for watching. Bye.